Whether you've been at a company for 1 month or 30 years, chances are you've had or are preparing to have a performance review. It's an important way to make sure everyone understands the company's goals and how their work fits into the bigger picture. But experts are predicting this year's review will be more difficult than in years past. Career expert Liz Bentley joins us this morning to talk about why it pays to have a clear-eyed response plan. Good morning to you, Liz. Good to see you.
Good morning, Mary. Great to be here.
All right, so it's expected to be this brutal year for employees, but you say that's not necessarily a bad thing. Can you explain?
It is going to be a tough year for employees. People are going to get very candid feedback. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. Look, Mary, companies are under a lot of pressure this year. The markets are very competitive. There are tough economic forecasts. Production is down and costs are up. So there's no room for mediocrity. People need to level up and bosses are feeling the pressure. So they're really going to have to tell their employees and their staff exactly what they need to do to improve their performance. And this can be a great thing. Listen, during the pandemic, people got what was called a performance pass. That was because people were navigating the pandemic, working from home, dealing with childcare, helping the elderly, et cetera. And bosses felt really badly and were very easy on their team. But now, years later, HR departments are saying enough is enough, and it's okay if the low performers leave. We really need our company to get competitive and everybody to get on the same page.
Receiving tough feedback can be a daunting task, especially when companies are asking for more productivity from employees. So how should people handle that?
Listen, as an employee, it can be very scary. Nobody wants to get negative feedback, but it's so important to get it. You need to hear how your boss and your peers really feel about how you're doing. But what we see often is that people really struggle with seeing their weaknesses. One of my favorite quotes is, "The only person who can't see your weaknesses is you." And the reason that is because people have a false sense of emotional intelligence. They think they know what their weaknesses are, but often some of them are outdated and not relevant anymore, or they don't see all of them. The reason for this is that they have something called blind spots. Blind spots are characteristics that others can see in you, but that you can't see in yourself. The other reason we see is because sometimes your strengths, characteristics that work for you, can often turn into weaknesses. So maybe something that is like you're very detail oriented and thorough can turn into a weakness when you become a micromanager and move too slow. So it's really important for people to open their minds. So if you're an employee going into a performance review, go in looking for growth and opportunity. Remember, managers want people who are coachable. They want to be able to give you tough feedback, not just at the review, but throughout the year. And if you're someone who's able to hear the areas that you need to grow and then make those adjustments, you're going to be looked on very favorably.
Let's get to the manager side of this conversation. How should they give that tough feedback? Any advice for them?
Sure. I mean, it's not easy for the managers in this situation either, and it's crucial that they do a really good job with it. So the first thing we say is be empathetic. While we want you to be honest, candid, give people the truth, especially if their job is on the line, remember you're talking to a human being. The second thing is always lead with strengths. And when we say strengths, we don't just mean, hey, here's what you're good at. We want you to talk about why they're unique. What are their special skills? How do they really contribute to the team and help everyone grow and tie that to the goals? Then when you address the areas for improvement and growth, make sure you're very specific. Remember, no one comes to work trying to do a bad job. If someone is not doing well, they're not trying to do it. So you really need to show them why it's not working, how they're not doing a good job, and then work with them to see where the problems are and how they can grow. Don't just level them with negative feedback. Really work through it with them. Last but not least, there's a space between strengths and weaknesses that's kind of the middle, and that's just strategy. Saying things like prioritize your time better, work with a little more urgency, improve your communication, middle ground things that will really help people rise and help the team and the overall goals. Remember, performance feedback that's given with empathy, honesty, and growth oriented is good for everyone, the employee, the boss, and the company overall.
Career coach Liz Bentley, thank you so much for joining us. Good to talk to you today.
Thanks, Mary.